You know, it's funny how sometimes a simple piece of dating advice can accidentally blow the lid off these huge, deep truths about how our society actually works. Okay, let's get into this because one single tweet started this massive firestorm, not just about dating, but about class, money, and the whole world we live in today.
So it all kicked off right here. You've got billionaire investor Bill Ackman, and he's worried that, quote, online culture has destroyed the ability to spontaneously meet strangers. So he offers up the exact line he used back in the day, a very simple, very polite, "May I meet you?"
I mean, on the surface, it seems totally harmless, right? The grammar's perfect, it sounds polite enough, but the reaction online was immediate, and it was intense. So the real question we're going to dig into is, why? What raw nerve did this seemingly innocent advice actually hit?
To really understand the backlash, we first have to step back and look at Ackman's advice exactly as he presented it. Let's try to see it from his point of view.
Now, here's what's really key. It's his claim that this line was almost foolproof. He says he almost never got a no. He's basically presenting this phrase as a kind of magic key, a simple little script that just works every time.
So his diagnosis of the problem is crucial. He thinks the problem is entirely cultural, that the internet just sort of broke our manners. And because of that, his solution is also cultural. Hey, let's just all be a bit more polite. Seems like a simple fix for a simple problem, but is it? To really unpack why people reacted the way they did, we're going to need to pull out a classic theory, one that splits society into two basic levels. Let's see how it works.
Okay, so first you have what's called the economic base. Think of this as the literal foundation of everything. It's the economy, the technology we have, our class system, who owns property. It's the nuts and bolts of how society makes things and organizes itself.
And then, sitting right on top of that foundation, you have the superstructure. This is pretty much everything else: our culture, our laws, our government, our morality, even our shared ideas about what's considered polite. It's the whole world of ideas and institutions.
And here is the absolute core idea of this theory. The base determines the superstructure. The economic reality shapes our culture, not the other way around. Think about it like this. The engine is what makes a car go. The paint job is just how it looks. The engine determines what the car can do. With that in mind, let's go back to Ackman's advice.
Okay, let's apply this if you look at it through this lens. Ackman isn't just giving out dating tips. He's actually operating completely inside the superstructure, and he's offering a purely ideological solution. So, according to this analysis, his advice is a superstructural fix. He's trying to solve a deep engine problem by just suggesting a new paint job: politeness. It's a lot like that old pull yourself up by your bootstraps idea, but for dating. It suggests the words themselves have magic power totally separate from who is actually saying them.
And this is where the public's reaction gets so fascinating. The analysis argues that the internet, probably without even realizing it, was launching its own critique, and it was one that totally ignored the superstructure and went straight for the base.
And this quote just nails it. Nobody was really debating him on grammar points. No one cared if the line was polite. People instinctively zeroed in on the economic base. They were arguing about money, power, and status. In other words, they were arguing about capital.
I mean, check this out. It's a perfect example. This person is basically saying, yeah, maybe also mention you run a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund. They're pointing out that the success probably isn't in the polite words. It's in the immense economic power of the person speaking them.
But it wasn't just about economic capital. People immediately brought up social or sexual capital, which you often see summed up by that old internet meme, Rule 1, be attractive. Rule 2, don't be unattractive. The idea is that the exact same line can be seen as charming from one person and creepy from another.
And yeah, this reply just lays it all out there. The line itself has no power. Its effect completely depends on how desirable the person saying it is. So once again, the focus gets yanked away from the words, the superstructure, and placed squarely on the material reality of the speaker, the base.
So what this all really points to is this idea that the self has kind of become a commodity, something with a perceived market value. And in this social marketplace, success isn't about knowing the right script. It's about how high your value is perceived to be, whether that's based on money, status, or looks. But the critique went even deeper. It wasn't just about an individual's personal capital.
A whole lot of people argued that the entire economic base of how we meet people has radically, fundamentally changed since Ackman was a young man.
And this line, which you see all over the internet, just perfectly captures that generational argument. It's basically a declaration that the fundamental rules of the social game have been totally rewritten. The advice is obsolete because the world it came from is just gone.
Let's just break that down for a second. Ackman's youth in the 80s, that was an analog world. You met people face to face in public spaces. Social skills were everything. Today, we live in a digital world run by platform capitalism, where we build these little commodified profiles to market ourselves. The actual means of production from making a relationship have changed.
And what that means is that dating apps aren't just some fun new tools. In this view, they're the new, privately owned factories where social connections get manufactured. And just like any other factory, they're designed to make a profit by turning human connection itself into a product.
This tweet right here makes an absolutely brilliant point. Boomers even got game the way they did real estate. We are truly cooked. The person here is arguing that just like young people feel completely locked out of the housing market, they feel locked out of the dating market too. It's a direct line from the economic base to your social life.
So, when you put it all together, this analysis basically concludes that the success of a line like, "May I meet you," has almost nothing to do with politeness. It's determined by the base, by your class position, your perceived social value, and the technological world you're forced to operate in. The superstructure of etiquette is really just a footnote.
In the end, this whole wild Twitter drama becomes a really powerful case study. It suggests that these deep, powerful economic forces are shaping our most intimate, personal interactions. And it leaves us with a pretty big question. If this way of thinking can explain a viral dating tweet, what else can it explain about our world?